a lot of people didn't believe their relationship, and they thought they were really. A lot of people thought they were hamming it up and being very too much. I seen a lot of critiques saying they were too much, which I didn't.
No, I didn't feel that either. I feel like it was like I don't know what kind of people you've been around, but I think I've seen this. I've seen this about to happen. When I was hanging out with some people, like, yo, if we weren't here in this situation and it was just those two, this would happen. This is what's gonna happen if we're not here. Welcome back to This Just In, and today we have another movie review. And with that, it means that we have another special guest to help us dissect and work through another movie. Today we have another guest who's been on the podcast multiple times now. It's almost like we had a podcast before.
Yeah, almost.
Ian,
crazy,
welcome back to the podcast again.
Howdy, everybody. How you doing? I know some of you are asking, why don't they just post Justin and Ian podcast? Because we're off season, bitch. This is our off season.
Yeah, this is actually off season time. Yeah, we do our own things, but sometimes they bleed over. But they are still separate from the things we do together.
Mm-hmm.
And with that,
I don't know if Begone Thoughts ever gonna have guests, but who knows?
That'd be so interesting. That'd be such a weird. I feel like Begone Thought is like it's just you. I feel like if you put a guest on Begone Thought, it's just weird.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it can be like a talk show. Like, I don't know. It'd have to be it'd be different. Anyways,
I think it would be different, but it would be an interesting thought. Like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe if you could do it as a bite-sized thing, if you were to do it with a person, like, here's these thoughts. What are your quick, brief one words on each of them?
I think if I were to do it, I'd have two people come on and I'd be a moderator. I'd be like, have someone who has two different opinions on a stance and they try to change each other's minds.
Or they change my mind.
That's side. Yeah, they have it's changed my mind. Yeah, with what's his name?
Steven Crowder, yeah.
Whatever the fuck his name is.
Steven
Chowder.
Steven Chowder. Yeah. Okay, so today,
what are we doing today, Justin?
I know, what an intro. So as I said, we are going to dissect the movie. And the movie we're going to dissect today or work through or review is Malcolm and Marie, which I've been spelling incorrectly this whole time. I've been spelling it Malcolm with one L. Malcolm. Malcolm. It's two L's. There's one
Wait,
after.
Malcolm?
Yeah, there's another L. It's M-A-L. Yeah.
C-O-L-M? Colm?
Yeah, Malcolm? It's Colm. Malcolm. But I've just been spelling it as Malcolm.
What? Is it actually?
Yeah, this is.
Oh my god! Yeah, there's an L in Malcolm.
Welcome to the first revolution of this podcast review. There's two L's in Malcolm, and I've been spelling it wrong this whole time. That's I'm like, yo, why? Whenever I spell it, I'm like, why am I getting this incorrect error? It turns out I'm missing an L.
Why is there a red dotted line under my words?
I'm sure there is some Malcolms without the second L, but I feel like whenever someone's like, yo, your name's spelled wrong, and they're like, no, that's my. Like how some people have like two L's in Allison, or like what other names have two, like multiple letters that are sometimes dropped.
Or if it's an Allison spelled with a Y, Allison.
Yeah. Or Jason, but there's just an extra Y.
Or Jason spelled with a G, Gayson.
I've never. Is that a thing? Do you
No, I no.
Just set up your child.
No, I don't know.
Imagine you just set up your child.
You
are going to be gay,
to get
son.
bullied. Yeah, this is Gayson. It's like, why? Why'd you name me that?
Dad, I didn't want to. No, I'm stuck in this box. So yes,
see, Malcolm if he was gay too, that would be just a hate crime.
Yeah, that'd be too much. You're just like setting your child up, and then you're just setting him up for abuse. Okay, back to the movie. Yep.
Continue.
So Malcolm and Marie just came out recently on Netflix as a part of their big 2021 movie a week fucking program they're doing. And Malcolm Marie,
that's what they're doing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Malcolm and Marie is a feature film about the night of a it's really hard to really hard to distill this movie into one sentence, but the general premise is it is the after of a filmmaker's premiere. What happens when he goes home?
This is what Google says. Smoldering tensions and painful revelations push a filmmaker and his girlfriend toward a romantic reckoning.
See, that doesn't even like tell you like much about it. It's just like this film with that plotline you could slap that in with a bunch of different films out there, and it'd still work. But anyways,
this is basically this is a marriage story. That's a marriage story. Also. That's what the plot is.
Our review. Remember, I like how we were like, we did the review for the white version of this with a pregnancy, with what's that movie?
Yeah,
the Apple Shia LaBeouf one.
Shia LaBeouf.
Can't believe we're blanking
Pieces
on
of
this.
a Woman.
Yeah, Pieces of a Woman. And now we're here. So it is written and directed by Sam Levinson of Euphoria and Assassination Nation, who I just realized is actually a scrawny white person. I thought he was someone else. Whenever I heard of that name, I'm like, is it this person? But when I saw like his review, I'm like, oh, I've never seen this guy before. And it was notably made during.
It's interesting that he's a skinny white dude.
Yeah, he is.
It's interesting he's a skinny white dude writing the script.
That's what I thought was interesting too. I'm like, there's some words that I don't know if he's allowed to write.
Yeah.
And he wrote them. Or I don't know if he wrote them or.
Yeah, I wonder if he. I wonder. Yeah, like, did he type them out? And then was just like,
I put
okay,
this word
I guess we're gonna say
John,
them.
you know.
I'm sure Zendaya and
they're like, yeah, well, we know what you're trying to.
Yeah, I'm sure John Denzel Washington and Zendaya.
John Denzel Washington.
Yeah. I'm sure they knew.
I'm sure they're like, he just left blanks in the script. And he's like, they're like, oh, there's a blank here, and he's like, yeah. So it is.
Yep.
It was made.
Sure, I'll fill it in. He put neighbor.
Yeah,
he put neighbor.
And it just sounded so off, like there a heated argument. Like I don't remember a line that where it fit. I feel like it would just be awkward if you just put neighbor. They're just
don't do it.
Neighbor. He's like, well, yeah, I don't. He would just be like reading. He would say the line. He's like,
well,
Sam,
I can't
why does it say neighbor
it?
here? It doesn't fit. He's like, John, John, if you just want to fit in whatever you want, just go for it. But yes, it was made during the quarantine of 2020.
Yeah, just trying to get them to say it. It's like, I don't know.
Just pushing them.
Yes.
Slowly. He's like, you're getting there. It was made during quarantine 2020, which is partly why it's so minimal, why it's like one in location, only 2 actors, and most of the action happens verbally. It's not a very action-y in the sense that things move or people move. It's more dialogue-driven instead of plot-driven. And so, like the other review we did, we're going to break this up into 3 sections. What we liked, what we didn't like, and what was almost there. And I just realized I wasn't recording on the video. So for the first 10 minutes of this video, it's just going to be my Zoom video instead of my nice video I set up on
your camera.
Yeah, I spent too much time setting up. But so yeah, we'll go through those 3 sections, and then we'll give it a little score right before we get into the last section, the shits, where we just go all in, no spoilers, or all in, spoiler free, or no, sorry, spoiler wild. And then we'll in that last section. So
also there may be a bit of a delay between us. I think there's like a good few seconds between me and you. So
I noticed
some pauses, I'm assuming.
So yeah, well, that's the editing thing. Hopefully you guys won't hear it at all. So Ian, first section of this review, what we liked. I'll head it to you. What did you like? No spoilers.
I think right off the bat, easy to say. No spoilers. Easy to say. Performance-wise, man.
Yes.
Performance-wise, Zendaya and JDW killed it, bro. They killed it.
They did. They absolutely just
I read
shanked
a few.
it.
Yeah, I loved it. I read a few reviews, as you do, on everyone's most trusted source, Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. This movie is very decisive. I will say that between critics and even people who did it, the Google of movies,
the Google of movie reviews.
But yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people didn't believe their relationship, and they thought they were a lot of people thought they were hamming it up and being very too much. I seen a lot of critiques saying they were too much, which I didn't think
I didn't feel that either. Opinion. I feel like it was like it. I don't know what kind of people you've been around, but I think I've seen this about to happen. When I was hanging out with some people, I'm like, yo, if we weren't here in this situation and it was just those 2, this would happen. This is what's gonna happen if we're not here.
Also, the film was very stylish, so the way they act and talk is very stylish as well. So it's like I don't even mind it if it did seem a little hammy or a little like made up to me. It was just like the flair, like that's like they're playing up characters.
Yeah,
but I agree. Yeah, that's one of the main things I liked about it. Also, the black and white makes the film look so gorgeous.
The images work so much better.
Some people thought it was like a gimmick, but I liked it in black.
I think it definitely works for it because like if
man, you really see it.
I think it's works for the bare bones. This being it like this is dialogue heavy. I feel like the colors would be a little distracting considering like this film is built on its dialogue, and if you threw in like although like most films you don't consider it as much, it's just color. It's like oh that's how it's standard. But I feel like in this movie because of how bare bones it is, like one place, two characters, and they're just talking. Well, not talking. They're like yelling at each other and arguing. I feel like that little like thing of color would just kind of throw it out the window. And I think that's part of what I like too, how minimalistic it was.
Also something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that minimalism was something I really gravitated towards in all aspects of the film.
I think also in terms of the black and 100%. I also think in terms of the black and white again, it's like maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe some may say, but the black and white, it's like two sides of an argument. One person sees them as right and wrong, and it's very like to them, it's very black and white. Like I'm right, you're wrong, whatever. But in the movie, there's obviously someone who's way more wrong, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
like someone.
We'll get into that in the shits for sure.
Even though they're both kind of terrible. They're both kind of terrible. Yeah. But the black and white it's just a good contrast. Yeah.
It did.
But the black and white is just a good contrast to that. It's just like, it's not black and white. There's an in-between middle ground.
I think that worked for the film too, because again, it is super minimal. Like I didn't like now that you saying it, I just realized now, like thinking back about it, like the dialogue was really, really sharp. And we'll get into some of the interesting dialogue choices that they say later on in the shits, because I don't want to be super spoilery, because I feel like when I heard some of those things they were saying, I'm like, oh, they're going this way, huh? They're going this way, huh? They're saying these things in this movie. Whoa. Yeah. And it's not like it's like something out of left field, to be honest.
The movie touches on a lot, man.
It does. It literally goes.
Kind of is.
It just goes all over. It
you everything. Wouldn't really expect it. It's very. It feels like his character is just trying to find shit to be angry at.
Sometimes, I know.
Like that's what his character feels like. John Denzel Washington.
John David Washington.
But again, that's for later.
Visually,
shit,
I agree.
David, what the fuck have I been saying?
You should say
John
Denzel. This that's.
I'm so stupid.
I like how you were like
that's
saying it multiple times. I'm like,
name.
Is it? Are you trying to? Is this a joke that I'm not getting on, or are you actually confused that his name is not Denzel in the middle?
Yeah, no, I'm just stupid. It's David. It's David. I'm thinking about his dad, his daddy.
Again, because they're so minimal, there's not much to say. I think like there's not a lot of like there's not like a long list of things that I like. It's all most of the stuff that I like is all pretty interconnected. Like the minimalism works with all the low key of the visuals and the black and white. Yeah. But one thing that we haven't touched on yet is the soundtrack. And once that opening scene played, I'm like, oh yes, I understand why you posted the soundtrack on your story. It is. I love it. Works very well for this film, and it highlights some super sick music. And I like how it was so integrated into the actual film. It wasn't just like, oh, this is in the background.
Oh my god!
They actually are like playing this music, and it works.
Yeah.
And it's like a weapon.
The music, man, that's some toxic behavior, man. These people, man, they use their music.
They use music as
I'm not gonna.
We'll get into it in the shits, but like,
man,
I didn't know music could be like that.
It's some serious passive aggressiveness.
Oh, it's beyond. It's like borderline aggressive. It's like literally just like stroking the line of aggressive.
Yeah, I've definitely been in a situation like that before. It's kind of funny.
Oh, shit.
This movie, I shouldn't say I related to this movie, but kind of did.
I was talking to someone and they're like, yeah, I related to this movie. I'm like, oh, that's scary. Because from my perspective, this is all like fresh. I'm like, whoa. And someone's like, yeah, that was something that's pretty realistic. I'm like, that's pretty realistic, huh? Whoa. It's heavy for me. Yeah. Is there anything else that you like that we haven't talked about yet? So performances, visuals, the minimalism, the soundtrack, anything else non-spoiler that you want to just be like?
Just how visceral these arguments get, man. Just the feeling of tension. It's like, it's like suspense, man. You really don't know
where they're going to say
who's feeling what. Yeah. You don't know if they're happy. You don't know if they're sad. Yeah, because they're the relationship is very, but yeah, it's a complex relationship, and I found that dynamic very interesting to watch unfold on screen.
I thought the tension roller coaster was very well. I think
they just killed it, but I think that
the tension roller coaster was.
It feels like you don't have
developed.
time to breathe, or like
it knew when to go up and know when to go down.
It's like, when the waves are hitting you at the beach and you're just like,
and you need a break.
It's just like that.
And you're just hit by the last wave. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I can go on. And then it's a break. It's paced very well. And considering that this is heavy dialogue again, like it's so powerful. Like when you know what to say, can just bring it down a little bit. And then you know what to say can go bring it way back up. Or like what the character said would bring it up and bring it down. So is there anything you didn't like?
And the movie was pretty funny too.
I did. Yeah, that was a good part. Like, although this is a very dramatic movie, there were nice light moments. And I think those light moments were like so needed. If this was just drawn in, it's like, the whole time it'd be like, oh, I'm so, like by the end of it, you're tired, but you're not exhausted.
Yeah, I would say that as well. I don't know, man. I'm not saying this movie is perfect. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as I would like another movie. But I'm not sure if I can point out anything that I necessarily disliked.
That's what I noticed too.
Maybe like the switches in characters and the character decisions pissed me off. That's what it was. A lot of the character decisions. But that's not. Maybe that was the goal. I'm pretty sure that was the goal of what he wanted, like to make these people both seem very unlikable. But a lot of the character developments or character decisions, I was just like, "Shut up, bro!" Like, or like, why you gotta go there? Why you gotta push it too far? Like, you're messed up for that. Like, it's like watching a drunk friend do something bad, and you're like, "You're my friend, man. Like, I can't say shit, but that's gross, man. You shouldn't do that." Like, that's what it felt like.
It hit close.
Yeah, it hit close. And I found all that film critique shit that he was saying about race and stuff. It was interesting. It did kind of feel a little much at times, but that's what they wanted to talk about, and that's what they talked about. It was interesting enough. That's it.
There wasn't. Yeah, I noticed like although this film is very play-like, it didn't rub me as bad as like the other film I watched, which was very play-like was One Night in Miami. That was like there's a difference. I think the biggest difference between those two,
that was a real play.
Yeah, that was a real play. And I think for me, the difference was like this one doesn't work as well without the way that they blocked and staged it. On a stage, I don't think they would translate as well as One Night in Miami did from play to film. And maybe that's just like a strength that...
because at least in One Night in Miami...
For One Night in Miami, I feel like maybe that's just a strength that needs to be developed for Regina King, because that was her directorial debut. So maybe she's not as familiar with the visual language and stuff, and hers isn't as developed, obviously, because it's her first feature. So maybe it wasn't as tight or dialed in. But Sam Levinson's like done a season of Euphoria, and everyone loves what he did in Euphoria, and especially for the visuals. Like the visuals in Euphoria were absolutely killer. Each episode brought like some great images, and I think that's just a big difference between like what can make a play film go more than just being a recorded version of a play, and it brings it to that level of it's a proper film.
Yeah,
when you get that visual language, nice and concise, dialed in.
In a lot of reviews I've read, a lot of them I've seen a few people saying like this probably would have been better off as a play. I would have to agree with you and say like, no, not really, because the shots are very intimate, and they did a lot of cool stuff in the film in terms of like framing, like you said, like mise en scene, if I want to be a little pretentious. But it's very interesting.
Yeah,
mise en scène. No, it was very interesting. I mean, as a stage play, like realistically, if you were thinking about like what would they even do, you just be watching two people.
Yeah, you just see people
walk off
arguing.
Stage. Yeah, that's it. You just see two people arguing and rolling around with each other. That's it. You wouldn't get the same effect with.
No, it definitely is lost, and I think that's just power to the medium of film, like being able to get in as close as you do. So, is there anything that you thought was like not disliked, not liked? It was just like in the middle, just like it's. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's just in the middle, almost there.
I honestly don't know. So I watched this movie a few days ago. There's in between.
Something that wasn't like you didn't like.
It's making me sound like.
Because I was trying to think about it too. I'm like, there's nothing.
I don't know, man. It's making it like. Yeah, there's nothing I can say that I necessarily dislike about it, or anything that I necessarily don't think it it didn't land on. For me, it did whatever it wanted to do, and it landed for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may think, the fact that a white guy was writing all this dialogue for black actors to talk about maybe a little, weird and a little strange, but we don't know if Zendaya had a fucking part in talking about it, or JDW had a part in talking about it.
They definitely did, because they're producers on the film.
Man. I have really nothing else to say. The monologues were great. I love the monologues.
Yeah. That's what I noticed too. Like this one section of the
I don't
reviews
know how
that
that's really a critique too, if they obviously had a thing that they can talk about.
Right. And this is also the one thing in the reviews I'm like, oh, I set it up for this 3 ways. I'm like, okay, it's easy to say what we liked. It's easy to say what you don't like. But there's always that in between that's just like so hard to pick it. And if you can pick it out, that's like just something so interesting that I thought is just like something to bring out. But it's very hard to find it. And I've noticed that so far in the 2 reviews that I've done in this format, that last section, what was almost there, is always the hardest to find something to talk about. But with that, Ian, we're almost out from the spoiler-free zone. So, to close it out from the spoiler-free zone, Ian, what's your score of this film?
Let me think. It's interesting because I don't have a lot of negative things to say about it. I didn't hate it, but also it's a watch that I probably wouldn't want to watch it again. like maybe like 1 more time, 2 more times max. I'm gonna give it like a solid 7. Maybe 7 and a half. Like close to 8.
Close to 8. Okay,
somewhere around there.
I think I'm gonna go not a lot more positive, just a little bit more positive. I think I'm gonna go 8.8.
Okay, 8.8. Wow, that's pretty high up there. That's pretty good
for me. And now, before I'll explain why I gave it such a high mark, but now we're getting into the shits. This is, spoiler alert, your last chance to get out of here free, not knowing anything super detailed about this film. So, Ian, welcome to the shits. And I gave it such
welcome
to the shits. So I gave it an 8.8 because I'm like, of the films, like, I've recently not seen anything like this that went this far. Like, you can go meta, but I don't think I've ever seen a film go meta in this way. Like, films have gone meta in the sense of, oh, this is the wall of filmmaking. We're just going to tear down the wall of filmmaking itself. But no one's gone past just the wall of filmmaking. And I thought it was so interesting that they went past talking about being meta about film and then being meta about the criticism itself. And I thought that was a really interesting choice to be. So although it was kind of here or there sometimes, but I feel like it was still an interesting part of the film. Like it is definitely like a little driving notion behind some of the conversations.
So fun fact with this movie, something I found, I think about it now, it's kind of weird. This movie, this whole setting was based on an actual fight Sam Levinson had with his wife because he forgot to thank her at an award show, very similar to how Malcolm forgot to thank Marie. And it led to a whole argument. And I'm not sure if through the monologues, from what the content of those monologues had, about race and movie critiques and white savior and all this, it is a little bit strange that a white dude wrote this. Like, I'm just like just thinking, I'm like, yeah, that is strange. It definitely is strange. But that's just something I'm just wrapping my head around now, that because the monologues are it's great. They're great to watch. Great. They're well performed. Yeah. The content's great. It's very funny. And it's very tongue in cheek. Like everyone in that room, Zendaya, I'm sure fucking John David Washington. I'm sure they're very woke, and I'm sure they all know what's happening in like this culture in the world. Yeah, so they know what it's like, and they obviously want to talk about it. But it's just very interesting that it's coming from a white guy. Like they didn't get any writing credits. Like
they got producing credits. They are producers on the film.
Yeah,
but I feel like
still interesting. Yeah,
it's just interesting that they're producers on the film. So like, again, that's just part of the movie industry where you're like, what is a producer? What do you actually do?
So, it's probably fingers and everything,
I'm sure that they definitely did have like a decision in the script, because Zendaya, what was the story behind this filmmaking or behind the making of this film? They're like, Zendaya's like, oh, let's do something like just do something in our house. And then she kind of gave Sam like the idea, or like, oh, let's just make something small. And then he kind of took it off. And then I don't know much from where they went from there, because like it could have gone like he would have, okay, I'm writing with Zendaya and John David in my mind. Let's bring them into the conversation of making this actual thing. I don't know the crediting, however this goes, but it is interesting to see like the people in this film, like visually, like John David Washington and Zendaya and Sam Levinson. There is still that gap, right, between racially, right? They did have different experiences, but he's like how involved were they in the actual like plotting and scripting and dialogue? And I'm sure they were given some like sort of license to say or to introduce things or ideas. They're like, oh, maybe we should talk about this, put this in somehow. And then he's like, okay, I can just shape it a little bit so it's a little bit more concise or sharp and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, man. Like in terms of in the shits, man, like what they were saying, let's just get this straight.
Let's go.
Malcolm's an asshole. Like Malcolm is an asshole.
Yeah.
Like what he did to her, snake, man.
He went too far for sure. Because the thing about Malcolm is like, okay, you set this up. This is not gonna be productive. But you decided, let me not try and
I know.
Okay, and I don't know about conflict management like this, but I'm sure, like, I guess, obviously, if he went around the way he did, this film wouldn't be as gripping or entertaining as it is, and it wouldn't hit as different. Like, if he was a good person, this film wouldn't be as good. He's like,
if this was a healthy relationship with normal communication, the movie
would have been a 10-minute film.
Like, it would have just been like, oh, I didn't know you felt. I'm so sorry.
Imagine that's a short film. It's like Malcolm flipped, but it's like a 10-minute short film where it starts the same way, but instead of being like going on for another, an hour and a half, he's like, you know what? Yeah, I really did fuck up. I apologize. And then he goes off, and then that's the end of the film. I feel like that's a whole different thing. And I think, although he's a horror, he said some bad things, and he like kept going when he definitely didn't have to. It definitely like kind of pushed it too, and you kind of need that for the story to get where it was.
You know what it was? Because Zendaya had real shit she was throwing at him too. Like everything she was saying, valid. But him, after she said all that shit about him being mediocre and not having substance, and basically not being from the streets, but he's trying so hard to seem like he's from the streets and all that shit. And and then he's hurt because she's right. That's why he's hurt.
Right. That's why he's hit. That's why he's hit.
And so he gets salty and he starts throwing all this, oh, you're a fucking drug addict, oh, you're a slut, oh, fucking, you're terrible, this and that, like I fucked other women too, like you're not special. That's like, yo, chill out, man.
See, that's the thing. You don't have,
bro.
Like you didn't have to go there, like she did, but doesn't mean you have to double down.
Oh, 100%. He's too prideful, man.
I think that sets it up too, right? Because in the beginning he's like, "Oh my god, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best." He sets himself up to be like that boastful guy. So like, it's nice to know he follows through with his consistency of being kind of a brash
kind
character.
Of a dickhead.
Yeah, he just follows through, which is appreciated. I mean, it's nice that it actually, although there is kind of a lack of development, but
I wouldn't say there's really any development. It's just
I feel like it's more regression than development, but that's still sort of development.
And I mean, who knows? Maybe Malcolm will appreciate Marie more, or realistically, it's just gonna be another fight that fades in the background, and they're gonna keep doing this.
Right.
Yeah, but that first opening scene with him pacing and Zendaya just smoking, that was
so
well
sick.
Shot. I liked it. Because it followed him around.
Oh,
and it
yeah.
just stopped. So
you know, that was a one shot. Did you notice that was a one shot?
Yeah. There were a few one shots.
Oh
in this
my
movie.
gosh! I know. I'm like, oh wait. It didn't cut yet. It didn't cut yet. Yeah.
Oh, a lot of the times, when they're following each other through the house, or like even just sitting, like the movie doesn't cut. It just stays.
Again, that's just power to the visuals.
Some people might think it was boring and long and too much, but I don't know. I like it when things sit. I like watching actors act. Or trying to
like let them
process it.
Make the visuals work for them. Like have a good interconnection between what's on screen and how you're showing the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is a partial fashion podcast, so it would be neglect of us not to talk about the fits, or in this case, the lack of fits. There was like 3 fits in this film. The suit, the dress, and then the tank top sets.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, okay. I just want to bring this back. It's insane seeing Zendaya in this type of role. This is like her first like
non-Disney
very
role.
a sexual, bold, like adult role. Like even in Euphoria, it's nothing like this. Like Euphoria,
well, she's also supposed to be a 17-year-old in Euphoria, and I think that'd be really gross.
Which is good. I mean, listen. Yeah. I mean, Euphoria sexualizes all their characters.
But that's the fucked up thing. I'm like, yo, this show is about 17-year-olds, and they're showing it like this. I kind of don't.
Well,
like,
listen.
I tapped into like some of the ideas. I tapped into some of the Euphoria happenings, but I never watched it. But
like, listen,
from what I'm hearing, I'm like, yo. Riverdale too,
Riverdale can do it. Like
Sabrina too.
You know, Sabrina also. Listen, all these fucking people know. They know sex sells. The industry knows. But I'm just impressed with Zendaya because seeing this for the first time, I'm like, wow, like you really are breaking out of that, you know, Casey undercover.
It out. Legit.
Yeah, I mean, like Euphoria did that with all the drug use and stuff. But this is like a whole different, like,
she's just fleshing out her character.
Womanly side of Zendaya, yeah, and man, like this movie, they were both very attractive people.
They are just attractive people
doing very attractive things. So you're like, oof, muy caliente.
Mac and cheese, bro. Oh man, if I could eat mac and cheese like that and not look like a monster,
hell yeah, bro. The way he was eating mac and cheese is so funny. That whole scene was hilarious. He's like, you're a bitch. I hate you. That, like the whole monologues, and they'd be like, "Are you that messed up that you can verbally abuse me
while eating mac and cheese? And I made you."
What does that sound like in your head? That scene was so funny, bro. Just it's like, you're a bitch. Yum yum yum. I love this shit.
That's such a bar. There's a lot of good like one-liners in this film too. Yeah, and there's so many that I'm like, oh man, there's so many I just can't remember them all. But like, that one is good too about the mac and cheese. Like, are you that fucked up where you can verbally abuse me while eating mac and cheese that I made you? Oh, yeah.
You know that scene where it looks like she snaps and she looks like she's about to kill herself,
and then it's like, I'm an actor, motherfucker.
Man, that scene got me messed up because I
was so scared.
I was like, is this what this movie's about to be? Because this is about to be intense. I think if they went down that route, I wouldn't have been mad at it. I would have
been like, Malcolm and Marie, wow, what a film. This is a different film than I expected.
I think if it ended like that, if it ended like that, people kind of would have been a little more like, wow.
Warm to it?
People would have been like, that's an interesting
to no end.
Yeah, people, yeah. We should read some of the really bad reviews after this. Like, critics hate this movie.
Oh, man. I know. That's what I wanted to talk about too. Like how they shoot back at the audience and then they shoot back at critics. I'm like, yo, they actually go like they are not holding back. They are shooting wild. And like, I forgot to say this to include this, but this film is a fucking firefight between two people who occasionally kiss in between and then chill. And then sometimes when they shoot, they shoot their guns at the audience that they know is secretly watching.
Yeah, that it's so uncomfortable to watch, man. It's just like at that point you're just saying like, stop, just stop. Like,
please don't
just
kill.
Apologize. Like Malcolm, just apologize, please, bro. Like you don't have to go at that scene.
Please,
bro, please, bro. When she's in the bathroom taking a bath and he's just sitting there telling her, like, you think you're special? You're not special. I've dated other women who are broken like you. I'm like,
dude. Oh my god, this guy went there and he's in the bathtub. She's like in her most vulnerable state. You go over and just
yeah, and even Marie knows that. She's like, what's wrong with you? You're out of pocket for that. Like
yeah, you didn't need to go there. I know I went far, but you didn't need to double down on that.
She's like, you brought out Kiki, and then like he's like, oh, I was mad. Like I'm sorry. I'm like, bro, that doesn't. It's just a bad relationship. They should not be together.
Oh, absolutely not.
They should not be together. But you know that's the whole debate, right? It's remember what the thing is. It's not a love story. It's a story about love.
Yes, I like this new trajectory of romance films that are not romantic at all.
Oh yeah. It's a very cynical way of looking at love, isn't it?
Super.
A lot of people just like, yeah, love sucks sometimes, man.
Like sometimes you just want to you're just shooting at each other just for your own defense.
Yup.
Oh, I think we missed this, but like the lack of fits, how there's only like 3-4 fits. The fits were good though. The little fits they were good. I like the suit. dress was sick.
Zendaya looked great in the dress.
What's it called? That tank top is such a vibe. Just a tank top and your panties out. Yo, it's such a vibe.
Man, speaking of music, man, that scene where she gets out of the shower and he's just sitting there,
and she just pulls up on the phone. Boop.
That scene where he goes out and she starts listening to music and the song is saying like, you better dump his ass, like he's hurt you, but and they're just sitting there and she's just smoking her cigarette, and then he's like just listening to this and he just gets up and leaves, and she knows what she's doing.
She's just digging in her fingers, just digging in.
Man, and then when the first time they like make up with each other, and then Malcolm starts playing this song about a woman and how it's like the guy's apologizing to her, like, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't a good lover or a good friend or whatever.
Right.
And then she's like, Malcolm, you think playing a song about another woman is going to make me feel better? I'm like, God.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Those one-liners, like, oh, you're Levinson, man. You can write, man. You can write.
It's clever. It is clever. Like there's tons of times, before, like, not to get too personal, but yeah, in a relationship, you listen to a song or you play a song and you're like, oh my God, babe, that's us. And it's like, no, it's not. You're hijacking another artist's feelings. That's actually kind of interesting because Malcolm took Marie's story the same way he's taken the meaning of a song and trying to pass it off as his own feelings.
The layers, we're peeling them back here on the Just It podcast. We're peeling them back.
Yeah, but yeah, that's actually a very interesting choice. I'm thinking about it.
I think I gotta watch this film again. I tried to watch this film before we went in his review, so I had another double fresh thing and just to see it from the other side, but I didn't get a chance. But I will go through it shortly.
But yeah, that was a good one-liner. That was a good scene.
Yeah, and, lots of good one-liners.
Malcolm's endless incessant yelling and one take monologues are all great. Mm-hmm. Really visceral and angry.
This movie was very visceral. And I think even again with the lack of color, the black and white really helped with the visceralness because it was just so straight up. Interesting to think that in black and white, the lack of color kind of works for the rawness of it, even though black and white is not real at all.
Because it forces you to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that.
Yes, I agree. Because you have nothing else to focus on except, like we said earlier, the fucking acting and the script. There's no colors. There's no anything to distract you. It's just, these are people. Just these two people.
I really hope this film kind of influences other people to go the other way and go super low key, bring it down to the basics of filmmaking, where it's just characters in one location. You got to make up the visuals. Got to make up a really good part of the storytelling. Dialogue has to make a really good part of the storytelling, and then you intertwine everything to make something with so little. And I can't wait for that in that 2 years or 3 years, or there's a bunch more films that are this indie, I guess, even though this is not indie at all.
I can't wait for more Netflix movies to make toxic relationship movies.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to. Yeah, they kind of Netflix is on some. Yo, Amazon Prime, you got to get on this. Get some crazy negative shit like this.
You know how you said this was white pieces of a woman? No, this is white A Marriage Story.
Yeah,
Realistically, this is more,
but more intense and more dialed up.
Yeah, this is black A Marriage Story.
This is like
A Marriage Story is white Malcolm and Marie.
But maybe I feel like this is if that argument with
never got fixed.
Story, no. If that argument went further than it did, and that was his own movie.
Yeah. A Marriage Story is way more hopeful than
for sure. Than
Malcolm and Marie.
Although the last shot, I like speaking about the visuals, there's a lot of good shots that are like super beautiful and that could be on their own. They could stand on their own. I loved how the last image pulled from the painting that's in that room of the two people just on the boat. It's really if you're not like,
oh yes,
there's that painting where there's the girl on the boat and then she's facing this way and then the guy's facing this, like his back is facing, and I think that I like how it recreated that in the final shot, especially with the framing and how they're like lined up like that. Again, that speaks to Sam Levinson's visual. He has really strong visuals and really strong dialogue. Solid. I want to see his first film. I want to see his first film, Assassination Nation. See how that stacks up to this film.
Assassination Nation.
Yeah, it came out, I think, 2016.
Assassination Nation. think I've heard of it. I haven't.
Yeah, I heard of it too. Was that TIFF 2016, 2015? Something like that. But yeah.
Oof.
Yeah,
it's the inverse.
It's bad.
It's the inverse of Malcolm and Marie.
Yeah, just a bunch of white people.
Audience hate it, but reviewers love it.
Oh, interesting.
Reviewers loved it a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a literal flip.
We didn't get into that too much. We didn't get into it too much in this one, but like they did not pull any punches with reviewers, and I think the reviewers didn't like that heat, so they're like.
He called them out, so they shit on it.
Yeah, I feel like.
I mean, was what he was saying wrong?
I don't think so.
He wasn't saying anything incorrect.
No, he was like.
But yeah,
I think if you are not super tapped into film criticism, you might not fully get it, because there is some like things I'm like, oh, I don't think I would have if I didn't take film study courses. I don't think I would have known what those things are. There's some things that I think even for me, I feel like there's some things that probably went over my head with the shots at film criticism.
Anyone who just is enjoying that shit, or who's even just a little bit political, who has their fingers in the political ecosystem will enjoy it. I will say this: Malcolm and Marie, definitely, I can see why it's decisive. It's long.
It is decisive.
It's not a lot of action.
Nope.
It's a lot of monologues. It's just talking. It's black and white. Like I understand why a lot of people wouldn't like it. The characters are acted up a lot and very toxic and very dramatic. And some of the and a lot of people saying like this isn't how people talk. I mean,
it's movies.
I'm hoping not everyone.
It's that's movies, true too. First of all, I hope people don't talk like that on a regular basis. I feel like this is like an example of what not to say. Here's exactly what not to say, word by word.
Here's also like, if I'm glad people don't kind of relate to this, because I hope you don't relate to this, because otherwise healthy. That's like, what have you been through? Yeah. If you relate to it in any way, it's like, yikes. Oh, first of all, big yikes. And I hope if you do relate to it, I hope you're not relating to it from a current situation, because that's a big yikes. Not good either.
That's a big yikes. It's a wake up call for everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, this movie's, I don't know, if you like really dramatic indie, I say indie with quotes, like personal stories.
Yeah.
Watch
very
it.
Low-key,
I can
minimal.
see this stuff I could have seen this under like A24's belt, to be honest.
It's very interesting for Netflix to take a project like this.
I'm surprised they didn't do this with A24, because A24
maybe A24 didn't have enough money to splash on it. That's what I think the issue is.
Maybe
Netflix did buy it out for $30 million, and I'm like, I feel like maybe A24 was like, no. I think they made it independently as well, and then it was bought out by Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's why Sam Levinson's like, yo, I'm gonna do this on my own. A24, you guys are doing. It's COVID. Maybe I think that kind of helped work it out too, right? Because they were the first production to do it in COVID, right? They did it beginning of the. What is it?
Yeah, they set the standard.
It was filmed in June. Yeah, they set like this is how you make a movie in COVID.
Those are our final thoughts.
Thank you again, Ian, for being on the podcast. Again, Malcolm and Marie on Netflix now. Go check it out. Those are our thoughts. Ian, let the people know where they can find you.
At Sunday Crosswords on TikTok and no, not TikTok, just Instagram. Forget TikTok. I don't have a TikTok. It's just Instagram. And Be Gone Thought. That's it. But you guys already know.
You can find that in the below. Again, Ian, thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate your presences on all our
appreciate
things.
You too, bud.
See,
appreciate you too.
And that's how you should end every conversation and interaction with everyone. And I'd like to thank the audience for listening and watching and interacting.
Yeah, the main takeaway from Malcolm and Marie is say thank you. That's the lesson.
The last line. Thank you.
Yeah, just say thank you.
So thank you to everyone. Again, you can find everything in the bottom. That has been This Just In. Malcolm and Marie is an intense movie that may not be for everyone, but give it a chance. And you might enjoy it. You might not. All right, Ian.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, yours was so much juicier than mine.